right, hey guys, OFD checking in here, and after having had the Breitling Superocean for about 6 months, I wanted to kind of give you guys an overview of this watch, how I'm feeling about the watch after owning it for 6 months. Now, as you guys know, I am an avid watch collector, and so I have quite a few watches in the collection. I couldn't even tell you the number at this point, but so this is not an everyday watch. I rotate watches oftentimes a few times a day, which I know is crazy, but especially if I'm working from home and I'm working from my office at home, my watches are near me, I'll grab one, I'll put it on. But the Breitling Superocean, this particular model, has spent a lot of time with me on my wrist. Now, if you guys watch the channel, you'll know this isn't my first go-around with the Breitling Superocean. This is actually the second one I've owned in about 4 years. I owned one of the Breitling Superoceans-2 with the black dial, and it was also the 24-hour dial. So that, I think that version has been discontinued, but that was a matte black dial with the standard layout on it, and also had the 24-hour chapter on the inside. More of a military-looking dial layout and whatnot, but it was a great watch. A few differences with that one also was it had the black vulcanized rubber bezel insert with the polished raised pieces. This is a DLC coating on this one, so there's no rubber involved in the bezel insert itself. I was kind of hit and miss, to be honest with you, on that one, on the original. I just didn't know over time how that rubber would end up looking. And, you know, maybe the same could be said for this DLC coating, but the way they've done it and it's set down inside of the bezel on this watch, I don't think you're ever going to have a problem with it. Another difference in that original one was that was a fully polished case. As you can see in these versions, they are now polishing the sides of the case and there is brushing on top. I do like that contrast to these later models in the case design. I like that they're doing brushing and polishing, not just the full polished case. Especially on the military version that I had before, or what I called the military dial version, I really wished I would have seen some brushing on the top of the case, but it's just the way the watch was. And I ended up moving that along, I think, when I did some trading into my first Rolex that I had here on the channel. So this one I did pick up on the stainless steel bracelet. I would suggest that if you guys are buying these watches on the market, unless you get them really inexpensive off the bracelet, it's probably a pretty good idea if you're buying new to pick up a watch with the bracelet, because these bracelets are going to set you back $700-800 on the secondary market. So how is the watch after 6 months? Now, as you guys can see, just in general condition, it's in really good shape. Now, it's going to be a little bit hard to see here on the camera because the watch is shiny, and I take care of my watches. I baby them, but this does have, you know, some little micro scratches on it, probably some desk diving marks on the clasp assembly. Gosh, I did just wash it right before the video because it has some crusties on it from wearing it quite a bit. I wore it over to the coast recently on the weekend. I'm in Santa Cruz, California, and it was nice and warm, and so I was sweating a lot with the watch on. But, you know, the watch is in great shape. It's staying in wonderful shape. 6 months wear with this watch, or not even 6 full months wear, but having the watch for 6 months, you can see it's showing very little signs of wear. The watch wears excellent. It is a bigger watch. I have a Sea Dweller 16600, which is a thicker case, but this watch wears just as big, being that this is a 42 millimeter case compared to a 40 millimeter case on the 16600 Sea Dweller. But the watch wears very well on my 7-inch wrist. Stick around, we'll definitely put this watch on my 7-inch wrist, and then I'll definitely go out with a Lume shot. But I'll leave down below in the description too the unboxing video and the original review of this watch. But a few things that I'm not super happy about with this watch. This is going to seem crazy, but you know, we are nuts for accuracy. This is a certified chronometer, and this one happens to be running at +5 a day fairly consistently. Now, if you know chronometer certification for Swiss certification, it is, I think it's -4 to +6 is the maximum variation you can have. So this watch at +5 a day is falling within COSC standards. So not a problem at all. But does it bug me? Yeah, 5 seconds a day, it does bother me, because after a few days, you're like 20 seconds fast, and you do tend to notice that. So, you know, is that something that's really make it or break it for the watch? No. I think that all of us that are into automatic watches kind of have to accept that. If you're really not going to like that, you probably just need to go buy yourself a quartz watch and live with a quartz watch, and that's just the way it is. So overall, the watch has been absolutely wonderful. One of the other, I guess, drawbacks, if you want to consider that timekeeping a drawback, one of the other things that I'm not as excited about on this watch is the bracelet. Now, as far as the design, comfort level, it is fine, but having had this watch for a while, the lack of any kind of micro adjustment besides these buttons here, has made it kind of a pain in the butt. I would like to see some kind of glide lock assembly. I do believe that on the newer models that they just brought out, which I'm going to tell you guys, I can't stand the look of that watch. I really just do not like anything about it. But I do think they've added a diver's extension or whatever on there. So, that's nice. They finally, on this 500 meters diver's watch, have put a dive extension on it. It really only makes sense that they would do that, right? I mean, that's the way it should be. So, like I said, the movement running about 5 seconds a day fast. It's basically what you have here is an Bausch 2824. I think -2 from ETA, which, Bausch means that Breitling is getting this in a kit. And, from what I can read, they're pretty secretive about what they do, but from what I can read out there, they're using all your high-end COSC parts when they're putting these watches together and then certifying them and submitting them for, the COSC certification. So, but the watch is an absolute beautiful piece. The bezel works like a charm, nice and crispy, everything about it. Now, it's funny because I mentioned the newer version of the Breitling Superocean. If you guys have seen it, the handset is, in my mind, quite obnoxious. The minute hand is huge and has the big square on the end of it. I understand that for dive watches, that's the main thing, is your minute hand and making sure your minute hand is visible, because in diving, the hour hand doesn't mean a whole lot because you're not diving for hours at a time. You're probably diving for 15 to 20 minutes. That's why most dive bezels only go to 15 minutes with the hash marks. That's about all you're diving. So, but I know what they've done with that watch, and I know there's a lot of people out there that love it, and I'm not a fan of the new Breitling Superocean. Now, I will be 100% honest with you. When this style version came out, I was not a fan of this style version either. I thought that the Arabics at the 12, the 6, and the 9 looked a bit cartoonish and big. But one of the best things about this particular Superocean is using those bigger indices means they were able to put more lume on it. And this watch has, I would honestly say, like twice as much lume as my original Breitling Superocean. So a lot more lume on the watch. But, overall, guys, I'm going to say I am 99.7% satisfied with this watch. A few things I would change, but really nothing to make me not want to have this watch or continue to have this watch in my collection. So let's go ahead and pause it for a second, put this watch on my 7-inch wrist, and then stick around for the lume shot at the end. All right, so here's the watch on my 7-inch wrist. If you watched the intro to the video, I wanted to show you guys that so you can get some pictures of this watch out in light and kind of get more of an idea of what it looks like outdoors. But definitely fits my 7-inch wrist well in this 42mm case size. Absolutely love it. So let's dim the lights and look at the lume on this one. All right, so I don't know if this is going to be fair. I was wearing my SKX 779 for the video, my older Seiko Monster. This is either 2010 or a 2001 model, not quite sure. But we'll go ahead and lume these two watches up. We'll go ahead and hit the Breitling first because I know the lume plots on that Monster are just huge. I don't even know if I need to hit the Monster with the light. Give it a little bit there, a little bit of light. But you guys can see the lume on both of the watches. The Breitling is incredibly bright, and it glows all night long. That's one of the things I really like about this particular version in comparison to the first model I ever had of the Breitling Superocean. It just never glowed like this, and I think it was the fact that the lume plots on that watch just weren't very big. They were small. They were on these small painted numerals, whereas as with this watch, you've got this big surface to apply the lume to, and it looks really, really awesome. So, guys, that's kind of my 6-month overview of the Breitling Superocean, this being the white dial version with the blue bezel. Pretty cool watch, and I'd suggest if you guys are looking for one of these, pick one up because they're going to become, less and less of these out there as that newer model kind of comes into play and takes over. So, all right, guys, you like the video, give me a thumbs up down there at the bottom, and if you've not subscribed to the OFD channel yet, please do. Please do. Thanks, guys.